Hello! Welcome back to another Saturday stream here on Tech Ambrosia. We've got a special episode today because I haven't actually tested anything in today's episode, so it should be very fun. Or it's going to be really, really short. We'll figure that out. I hope everybody's had a good week. I hope the week has been fairly stress-free for y'all. It has not for me. It's been pretty rough, but, you know, getting through it. We'll see. I know everyone's probably noticed the 3060 video has not come out yet. It'll get there eventually. So what are we doing today? Obviously you can see here to my left, to your right, maybe. We'll talk about that in a second. Basically, I don't remember who said it on last week's stream, but I think it was either Garth or Gutbomb or somebody was saying, troll around on eBay a little bit, because there are still deals out there for old Mac gear. It wasn't last week, it was the week before, I think, maybe. No, it was last week, because this thing arrived really quickly. So I did. On Sunday, I was messing around on eBay, just kind of looking for stuff. I really wanted to get my hands on a 68040 Macintosh so that I can get on this global talk thing everybody's doing. Because you've got to have a 68K Mac. And my only functional 68K Mac before now was my Plus right over here, which not particularly fast. Also, I don't have any way of connecting it to an actual modern network yet. We'll see about that. But I imagine it would be a not great time browsing global talk on the Plus. Probably functional, probably not fun. So I went looking around on eBay for a 68040 Mac, and I found this beastie, which we're going to talk about, and we're going to try. Let's go through some specs first. This is a Mac Centris 610. The Centris line was a cost-reduced version of the Quadras that Apple was selling in the early 90s. The Quadras were, of course, based around Motorola's 68040 processor, which is roughly equivalent to like a 486 in terms of like performance per clock. The 040 was a little bit faster per clock than a 486. And these things ranged from like 20 megahertz all the way up through 40 megahertz or so. There were successors to the 040, like the 060, but they never were used in a Mac. These also made their way into Amigas. I think the Amiga 4000 series had the 68040. Basically, this was a CPU that was like easily 50 to 100% faster than an 030, the previous generation CPU, per clock, and it went to higher speeds than the 68030 ever went to. So the Quadras were a big deal. They made for very fast Macintoshes back in the early 90s. Oh, we've got folks filtering into the chat already. That's great. Awesome. So the Centris line was a cost-reduced version of the Quadra line, and the way Apple did this was a couple of new form factors to kind of, you know, squeeze a little blood out of the stone that is the packaging of the machine. But then also, instead of using a full 6840 CPU, they'd use what's called the 68LC040, which omits the floating point unit, and that was a very common thing back then. Especially like if you've used like a 486SX that doesn't have the floating point unit, like you could add on a floating point unit. With the 040s, you couldn't, but you could usually chip swap them because they were usually in low insertion force sockets, and you could just pop the chip out and put in a new one with the floating point unit in it. That is the case with this machine. I've been doing a little bit of research. It's stock. It's a 68LC040 at 20 megahertz, and it came stock with either 4 or 8 megabytes of RAM. Whew. This was released in 1993, I think near the end of 93. But the whole Centris product line, like there was the Centris 610 and the Centris 630 and the Centris 660 AV, and the whole product line like lasted maybe a year, less than a year, 6 months maybe. It was like Apple's shortest lived product line. It was hilarious. They basically got replaced with Quadras as soon as the cost of 68040s fell. And Apple could deliver Quadras, like full Quadras, with real 68040s for Centris prices. So what the heck is the point of having the Centris around? Another little bit of history with this machine is that I was trying to think back to the Macs that I had in the household when I was a kid, right? That my dad had purchased and was using. So the first one was the SE that I think I've talked about on the stream before, but he was a doctor for all of his life, internal medicine, and he would go and he'd have office hours, right? He'd go into the clinic and he'd spend all day there, and he wanted a computer for that area. So he bought a Mac SE. It was the SE FDHD. So, you know, with the super drive that Apple would eventually rename as a super drive, 1.44 megabyte floppy drive. And of course, it's an SE, so you have room for a hard drive as well. I think he had a 20 megabyte drive in it. But the thing is, he'd bring it home like 2 or 3 nights a week. And, you know, ostensibly, to get some work done outside of the office. But of course, that meant it was playtime for me. Because it's a computer sitting on the kitchen table, so I'm going to go screw around with it. Because that was my mentality when I was like, I don't know, that was like 7 years old, I think. So that was the machine that gave me my love for like Crystal Quest. If you've ever seen me demo Crystal Quest on a vintage Mac, love that game. A completely bonkers game. I love it so much. But also like I think it's called Stunt Copter, where you control a little helicopter with a dude hanging off the bottom, and you have to like drop him into a like an ox cart full of hay, and if you miss, he like splats on the ground. In honestly a really kind of satisfying way. So it's a little morbid to just kind of splat the guy into the ground a bunch. But so there's the SE, and then he got a Mac 2 CX that was like a full desktop publishing system, supposedly from some random guy who hated Macs for $1. I don't know how true that is. Who knows? I have no idea if he actually got it for $1, but like it was a full desktop publishing system. Like this 2CX had like a Radius display card in it. It had this like big, maybe it was a Restaurants card and it was a Radius display. One of the two. It had Restaurants and Radius in it somewhere, but it had a giant like monochrome 2-page display. And it had, you know, it was a 2CX. It was kitted out. It had the floating point unit that was optional, and it had this beautiful Apple extended keyboard too, and that was the machine that I taught myself to program on. Like I knew a little bit of like basic, like ROM basic from having a VIC-20 and, you know, Apple IIs back in the day. I knew a little bit of you know, basic, but I really taught myself to program using HyperTalk and HyperCard and my giant falling apart at the seams copy of the HyperCard Bible, with the big red HyperCard thing on the front of the big red stack of cards on the front of the book. Loved that book. So much fun. But yeah, that was me like in my dad's office until late at night. Go to bed. Just programming HyperTalk, doing silly things in HyperCard. It was great. But yeah, we'll talk about what this is and what how I found this stuff in a second. So I'm pretty sure, I was trying to remember last night, like I think the next Mac was a Centris 610. I know it was a Centris 610, but I think the next one after the 2CX was the Centris. Because I remember it very distinctly. Because at one point I think he did the upgrade that you can do to it to either make it a 660 AV or to make it a 6100. Because they're all in the same case, right? Like you do the motherboard swap and then like a front bezel swap to basically make the machine a different, newer, faster machine. And I distinctly remember, because the Centris has a self-inject floppy drive, right? Like you barely push the floppy disk into the drive and it just sucks it right in. And then the Quadra or the 6100, I don't remember which one it is, doesn't. It's got the floppy drive with the giant hole in the center where you like stick your finger in and that actually plugs the disk into the drive. I remember I hated it. I really liked the self-inject floppy drives. And I missed them on Centris. So now I have a Centris 610 of my own, and it does indeed have that self-inject floppy drive. We'll take a look at it in just a second. So there's a little nostalgia there for the old Centris. So let's say hi to chat, see who's here, and then I'll flip over to the desk cam, and we can take a look at the hardware and maybe let out some magic smoke. Hopefully not. We'll see if it works. I have not booted this machine up yet. I have not. I have opened it up to make sure it's okay. Everything inside is copacetic. It's not 100% okay. It is from 1993. It is 30 years old. So one of the caps is leaking. I've cleaned up the cap juice on it. Hopefully the machine will boot. Eventually, like very soon, I'll have to recap the machine, but hopefully we'll see some Quadra magic or some 68040 magic from the Centris today. So let's see, who's here? Hello, hello, hello. Retrovance was here way before I even started the stream. Hello, welcome to the stream. Also, we've got Steber Koja. Hello, welcome to the stream. Chlorjon 1 Plus, hello, welcome to the stream. David Starbuck, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to see ya. Uh-oh. David says, watching this on my cheap PC challenge jank station. So far have a week using it as my daily driver. Uh-oh. The gauntlet has been thrown. We've already got somebody doing the 2-week challenge on the cheap PC. Excellent, excellent. Retrovance says, oh right, good old Centris. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, nice, nice. Who else is here? Jack68K, hello, welcome to the stream, good to see ya. David Starbucks says, I bought the parts as soon as Amber made the rules. You are dedicated. I hope that's an incredible machine. I can't wait to see what you built with it. Oh, excellent, excellent. Retrovance says, I got my partner to get really interested in older Macs because of Marathon. It's a great reason. It's a great reason to get interested in old Macs. Jack68K says, sounds like the lie you tell your partner when you didn't want to admit you spent a lot of money. That's probably what it was. Yeah. I bought it off a guy who hates Macs for $1. Yeah, sure you did. Uh-huh. We'll see. I don't know. Who else is here? We've got, along with David Charbuck, we've got Starbuck Tech. Hello, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Eric Helgeson is here. Hello, welcome to the stream. All right, that is pretty much everybody. David Starbuck says, it's not incredible, it sucks. Well, you know, it's a little bit about techno-masochism, right? Building a PC for $100 or maybe $50 and then using it for 2 weeks. It's a little bit of techno-masochism, right? All right, so let's flip over to the desk cam and see what we're working with here today. All right, so this is the machine. All right, so let's explain what we've got on the desk. First of all, the plan is put the Blue SCSI in it, right? This is my Blue SCSI V2 I built a couple of streams back. It's got a Pi Pico W on it, so we've got Wi-Fi. And with the Dana SCSI port driver, we should be able to get Ethernet on this machine via the Wi-Fi. I don't have any of that set up right now. We're going to set it up hopefully on stream and hopefully have a good time with that. We'll see. Now, as far as the machine itself, I have opened it up. I've taken a look to make sure everything's okay. I did get the battery out. It's a Maxell lithium. The date code on it, if this camera would focus on it, is, I'll just read it to you. It is 1993 April. So this is a genuine 30-year-old turd. So got that out. It did not explode, as you can see. There's not a bunch of corrosion all over the motherboard, which is so good. And so far, it's only ejected one piece of spindler plastic, which is incredible to me, considering these things are notorious for like these latches breaking off and stuff like that. Like these are right in that awful brittle plastic era. So far so good. So all right, let's talk about what this thing is and what I paid for it. Because that's part of it, honestly, right? So we've got, sitting on top, of course, I think everybody wants to know, an Apple extended keyboard too. This is, I think 65 Scribe has described this as the aircraft carrier. This is massive. It's a massive keyboard. There's a metal plate in there. It's quite heavy, and it uses Salmon Alps, I believe. I can grab a key puller and we can take a look, but I believe it is Salmon Alps. And obviously you can tell by the yellowing, which actually looks better on camera than it does in person. It's pretty yellow. The keys are, I believe, PBT, which is why they don't yellow. And then, of course, the spacebar is ABS, as is the case plastic, which is why it's nice and yellow, quite knackered. But if this keyboard works, I have not tested it yet. I paid all of $35 for this keyboard. So my guess is it doesn't work, because that's like, this keyboard doesn't work money, right? Like for an AEK2, my guess is this thing doesn't work. But we're gonna find out today. Because that's definitely non-working keyboard money for one of these. If it doesn't, I've got backup keyboards, not a big deal. We can still use the Centris today, but I wanted to see if this one worked. And then this is one of the classic Apple wedge mice that Zodium Retro sent over many moons ago now at this point, but I finally have an occasion to use it, since it is period correct with this. Well, with the AEK2 at least, it's not period correct with the Centris. I believe the Centris had the potato mouse, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. The good old potato mouse. So, the machine itself. Let's pop this off of here and take a look inside. The keyboard seriously weighs like 20 pounds. It's enormous. So that latch doesn't do anything, that latch mostly doesn't do anything. I think that's the only reason that they haven't broken yet. But if we slide this off, there's the internals, if the camera will focus. Come on. There we go. This is, I've already gone through the internals and taken a look at everything, made sure everything is okay, nothing looks too bad, and then I've reassembled it to the way that I found it when I opened it, which I think it speaks volumes, right? Because this is essentially an untouched machine. So this has the optional 2x CD-ROM drive. This is the Caddy loader, Apple CD. We've got some sticks of RAM in here. This is the VRAM. So we've got full VRAM, so it has the optional additional megabyte of VRAM. And then we've got some RAM sticks in here. I checked the sizes on these, looking at the part numbers. This is a 4 megabyte stick, and this is a 16 megabyte stick. Which means this came, I believe this came new from the factory with the optional CD-ROM drive, the up optional memory, because you could get it in 4 meg or 2 meg, or 4 meg or 8 meg variants. This would be the 8 meg configuration. And they ordered it with the additional video memory, just from Apple. I think that's how this machine lived its life for I don't know how many years, because at some point someone put this 16 megabyte SIM in here, and this is, the part number on this points to an IBM PS2, so this is definitely not, it's not a Mac memory upgrade. Someone just threw in a random 16 megabyte FPM SIM. So, an interesting story with this machine. Very interesting. So, we had a little bit of cap juice coming out of this capacitor here. That's pretty common for these boards. The seller on eBay says that this powers on, so this apparently didn't get into any of the chips over here that prevent it from powering on, because I think that is a scenario that can happen. This cap can cause this machine to not boot. I've cleaned up the cap juice here, but I'm going to need to recap this board at some point very soon. But we should be okay to just fire it up and see if it works. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So let's see if we've got anything else to talk about. I don't think so. So we've got a total of, so we've got 4 megabytes on the motherboard, the 4 megabyte expansion SIM from Apple. It blows my mind that the original memory expansion is still in it. And then the 16 megabyte SIM. So we've got 8 plus 16 or 24 megs of RAM in this machine. We would power this thing on. It's not going to do a whole lot because we've got no hard drive, and that's how it arrived to me. It did not have a hard drive in the machine. But we're going to throw in that Blue SCSI. I'm actually going to disconnect the Apple CD and then plug that into where the Blue SCSI should be, or plug the Blue SCSI in where the CD should be. So let's fire this thing up, see if we get any magic smoke, huh? How about it? I'm going to leave the keyboard right here so we can see the whole machine. Make sure that's not pressing any keys. So this is one of those Macs that doesn't have, doesn't do soft power, right? So we've got a big power switch right here, and it's basically a big plunger that goes right into the power supply and turns it on from the mains. So if we plug this thing in, we'll see our first indication of whether there's any magic smoke to let out. So far, so good. And we'll turn it on with the little plunger here. Now, it didn't chime because I've got headphones plugged in. That was my mistake. I probably should unplug those. But nothing on the screen, so this could be a very, very short stream. Let's unplug the headphones and see what it does. Out of the speaker. Because one of the things that'll happen with this, right, is you get that cap juice gets onto the sound circuitry, and then it can't make its startup chime, and it just doesn't boot. That might be what we're dealing with here. Yeah, I think that's what we're dealing with. Nice one, eBay seller. Power's on. Yes, the power supply turns on and starts spinning the fans. Yeah, we've got a green power LED. We've got no chime. So it is not doing anything. It's going to be a real quick stream today. Real quick stream. Let's unplug the keyboard and make sure that's not doing anything untoward. Nope, that's a whole lot of nope. I'm going to pull out that RAM sim real quick here. See if that helps. This is the danger of trying things on stream, right? Okay, so there's the PS2 memory module out of there. Let's see what happens now. That's a nope. I think this thing needs to be recapped. Unfortunate. I'm not totally surprised that this is how things are going today. So let's see if we can get... Come on, get out of there. So when I first opened it, it had the power connector here from the power supply had disconnected from the board, but looks like it's not doing that anymore. We can grab a multimeter, we can check some voltages and see what happens there. But we can also pull all of the sims and see if it boots with the onboard memory. But my guess is we've got some unhappiness up in that up in this corner of the board because of this cap. That is my guess. Alright, let's pop some sims out of here, see what happens. I'll take this memory sim out of here too. Yeah, nope, that's a no boot. All right, well that's a real quick stream. Let's see what the power supply is doing for voltages. Let me grab my multimeter here. Okay. There we go. I have no idea what these voltages are supposed to be. I'm guessing black is ground, but I don't know what to test for. Let's find out. Centris 610. Because most likely, if the motherboard needs to be recapped, the power supply does too. So we're going to find a pinout for this thing. Anybody got the test voltage numbers? Anybody at all? No, I definitely don't need ATX power supply numbers. Let's see. Nothing. Not finding a thing for the voltages. Alright, well, we'll just throw some leads on there and see what happens. Let's see what we've got. I can't actually read it. Y'all can read it. I can't read it. Oh yeah, no, this thing's not healthy at all. That's right. These should be 5 and 3.3. Or, Alright, so the power supply spins the fan, and that's about it. Wow. Yeah, so she needs a recap. Quite a bit of a recap. Wow. Oh, that's my bad. I have the Sun volts AC. I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Let's try this again. See what this is doing. The actual correct setting. Good lord. Ah, jeez. I need to turn in my nerd card because clearly I don't deserve it. Good lord. Good lord. Maybe 5 or 12, I don't remember. That's 5 volts, and that's good. And that is 12, so that's okay. Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. Five volts, 5 volts, 5 volts. Beautiful. -12 volts. -12 volts. Alright, so that looks okay. That's a little better. Power supply is probably not healthy, but it is at least putting out the right voltages. I'm thinking the board's kaput. Ah, bummer. Bummer, bummer, bummer. Power's on my aching ass. Well, that's I think that's the fastest stream I've had. That's really unfortunate. Super hopeful, but that is not to be, unfortunately. Okay, so what is chat saying? What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Eric says, I mean, it's likely Caps would have had many just hang with nothing when the bus is unterminated. Garth says it's possible the video adapter chain might not be working. It should be. Let me reboot my VGA to HDMI. I just booted it. Yeah, there we go. PC no signal, that's working. Put the blue SCSI on the end, terminated, and try again. Sure. Absolutely. Where did I put that? It's under the aircraft carrier. Alright. Okay. Termination is on. Give it another shot. See what it does. Jack says, chat is saying read the chat. Yeah, that's a whole lot of nothing. It's only got the 4 megs in it at this point, like it shouldn't be taking a bunch of time to check RAM, so. Yeah, this is gonna need to be serviced. Unfortunately. Bummer. Bummer, bummer, bummer. The fan does not spin temporarily, it spins. The fan in the power supply spins just fine. David Starbuck, well, it's a good thing the power supply isn't passing AC, I suppose. Yeah, no, thank you. Eric Helgeson says it was worth a try. Yeah. I appreciate it. I wouldn't have thought of that. That it was SCSI termination. Corey Flammer says, let's play Doom on something. Well, yeah. Jack68K says, do you have 10 47 UF 16 volt SMD caps? I don't. I don't have any capacitors here. I don't have any capacitors here. Yeah, Garth says there's no chime as well. Which is correct, yeah, it does not chime. Start with a recap. It's gonna need it anyway. HC has joined late. HC says, what's Centris? Centris was an old Apple product line in the 90s. This was supposed to be like the low-cost version of the Quadra, so you could get like most of the performance of a 68040 Quadra for less money. Not like dramatically less money, but less money. This was the lowest end version of the Centris line, the Centris 610, in this bizarro pizza box form factor. I picked this one up on eBay for like 70 bucks plus shipping. That was it doesn't work money, and it doesn't work, it turns out. The eBay seller says it powers on, but apparently their definition of powers on is different than mine, which is that, yes, the power supply fan spins, and that's all it does. It's gonna need a recap, unfortunately, and I don't have the stuff to do it here on stream, so... Corey said, let's play Doom on something. We can do that. We can do that. Let me see what I've got over here. It's only been a half an hour. Let's do something else with the rest of the stream time. Let's see. I can get this to stay out of the way for just a second. Get this machine cleaned up. We will play Doom on something. And since it is still March for the next, what, 36 hours? We'll make it a Mac. Garth says the optical drive will need a recap as well. I know, I don't know who it was who was doing all the recapping of the optical drives, but you want to see something weird, right? Optical drive, pretty normal looking. Obviously it's SCSI instead of IDE, but it's a caddy loader. Check that out. That is a caddy loading drive. But yeah, these will need a recap too. I knew that going into this, that the drive would need a recap. Nice and shiny. Fortunately, from what I've heard, I forget who was doing all the recapping, but they said that the way that the board is stored, you can see the PCB is there, and basically everything's upside down. It should be okay. Just recap it and it'll be fine. Not a lot of cap juice to leak all over stuff. Mache asks, March Macness. March is the month of Marchintosh, when retro YouTubers do Mac-themed things. For the Mac YouTubers, they do Mac-themed things all the time, but like, that's when I try to make a special effort to do Mac stuff, because I do have some nostalgia for the old 90s Macs. So I'm going to pop this thing back together. I'll put this thing away for a moment. Play Doom on something. Play Doom on something. Let's see. It's a good time to see if this still works. Who knows what this is? Got any guesses in the chat? Who knows what this PowerBook is? It's notorious. It is not a PowerBook 150. Garth, were you the one doing all the drive recapping? I forget if it was you or if it was somebody else in the Mac Discord. No? Nobody has any guesses on what this slab of gray is? This is the notorious PowerBook 5300C. This is the one that Apple had to recall, and I think they had a warranty replacement program for this that ran for like 10 or 20 years? I think 10 years at least. there are parts in this machine. If I look in here, there are parts in this machine dated 2001. I don't know if you can see that battery bay there, but yes, February 06, 2001? Yeah. This laptop's from 1995. This thing was awful. This was one of Apple's absolute worst PowerBooks. This was when they decided, let's make a native PowerPC PowerBook, and we'll kind of inherit some of the cool swoopy design from the 500 series, but we'll make it, you know, native. It'll be designed to run PowerPC from the beginning. And it was awful. One of the worst Macs ever made. That said, since this thing is, you know, Ship of Theseus style, not really all original anymore, it does actually function fairly well. So we can get this door open without breaking it. There we go. It's in fair shape nowadays. At least it was last time I powered it on, which has been a little while. But I've got some... Oh, what does Ken call this? Transformation technology? I've got some transformation technology here to take the PowerBook video. That is a video port. Turn it into Mac video, and take the Mac video and turn it into VGA. I gotta screw this in a little bit. So you actually get this connector in here. There we go. Doop, just like that. Y'all complain about dongles nowadays. Look at that thing. That's just to get monitor out. Let's plug in this keyboard, see if it actually works. I still don't know. There we go. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. Everything's fine. That's all good. Fun fact, if you've watched videos on the channel where I have the little transition animations where I move the mouse cursor over and I click a button, that's this. That's where I got that Foley from. Okay, let's get the aircraft carrier set up here. And the power adapter. So the state that this machine is in means that once I plug in this power adapter, it's just going to boot. It's just going to boot up. Where is the power adapter? Oh, there it is. There we go. So I guess we'll find out if it works in just a moment. There we go. That's better. Just to focus. Hey, let's switch over to the capture card and we'll see what this thing's doing. I think I've got 755 on this machine. Oh no! That's a sad Mac. That is a sad Mac. Oh, let's see. If I unplug this keyboard. What did I say? This keyboard, the amount I paid for this keyboard is it doesn't work amounts of money. So let's see if this thing will boot without the keyboard plugged in. Let's see. It's the keyboard. So that keyboard's gonna have to be looked after. Lovely. It makes sense for the amount I paid for it. It's non-working keyboard money. A growing pile of parts that don't work over here. Okay. Pretty nice crispy VGA out though. Alright. You're gonna tell me that my clock is set wrong? You're still booting. No, you're not gonna tell me my clock is set wrong. Okay, fine. So yeah, this one was pretty well loved over its lifetime. I have 7.6 on this, nice. So it's I don't know if this is max RAM for the 5300, but it's pretty close. 56 megabytes. The PowerBooks were all crazy. They all used their own proprietary RAM cards. Every single model had a different RAM card. I think a couple of them shared RAM cards, like ones that were, had family relations. But so this was a 1995 laptop. So we've got 761 on here from 1996. So it's pretty close to like how it would have performed back in the day. Let's see if this mouse works and plug it in here. We can get an external mouse, it'd be nice. Oh, it didn't like that. I think I bumped the power adapter. I hope that's what that was. Or it's the mouse that's screwing everything up. Nice. HC asks, was this Steve Jobs-less Apple? Yes. This was Apple before Steve Jobs. I have a post Steve Jobs Mac here. Let's see. Left it plugged in. Probably not a great idea. But I've got a PowerBook G3. This is sort of my daily driver retro Mac. This is a Pismo PowerBook G3. It's in excellent shape. This is the 400 megahertz version with a Rage 128 for graphics. It's pretty great for doing games, old Mac games. I've converted this one to SD card, and it boots up pretty quickly for what it is. Runs OS 9. I don't think this will run 8.6. I think 9.12 is what this shipped with. But somehow, like this two-tone cover is like, this is plastic, and then this is rubber, and somehow this is still not goopy. At some point this will turn goopy and it'll be disgusting. But for now, it is not goopy, and it's in pretty good shape, cosmetically and functionally. But yeah, this is a Steve Jobs Mac. We've got a tie book around here somewhere too. That's also quite the iconic Steve Jobs Mac. Not to mention, my father, before he passed, gave me his G4 Cube, so I do also have that, and it does function. I have the original CRT cinema display just down under here, under the shelf there. I don't know if that one still works. I'm guessing it doesn't. It probably needs a new flyback, because I think they all need new flybacks. So, I should have a Doom on here somewhere. Yeah, so a Doom 2. Hopefully that counts. Alright, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt and change it to 256 colors. Let's see, monitors. Also need to make sure that the external display is the main monitor. It's not, so let's make that the main monitor. Oh, it's in mirroring. Okay, mirroring's on. Alright, fine. Hopefully this will work. It doesn't always. You start a game with a PowerBook in mirror mode, it doesn't always display on the external display. So we'll see. So this is a PowerPC 603 EV, I believe, at 117 megahertz. Not exactly blisteringly fast. And there it is. See, it's only displaying on the internal display. One of these games I have does work on the external. I don't remember which one it is. The trick to get this to work is to put the machine to sleep and then wake it up with an external keyboard. However, this machine's knows that it's asleep by this little latch up here, and this button that it clicks into broke off because spindler plastics. So you can't put it to sleep anymore. So I can't do that trick. Let's see if I can, because the display is not doing a whole lot. Oh, didn't like the sound of that. I dare not move the hinge any further, but you can see we've got Doom 2 running on here. I think it's like arrow keys. This is like way before what's WASDA? But there's Doom on it. It runs okay. Like, I would hope it runs okay. This is 603E is mostly around the speed of like a fast 486, at the same clock speed. So like, think like an AMD 5x86 133, right? Like that's about the speed that we're at here, which makes sense. Like that's pretty much what you're gonna expect out of Doom, like 25 FPS or so. What is the shoot button set to? I bet is it control? No. What are the controls? There we go. F for fire. That's ridiculous. Who thinks that's a good idea? This is awful. So the problem with Mac gaming back in the day wasn't really the hardware. The hardware was fine. It was what were Mac game publishers thinking with these ports? They're all so bad. Where are you? I can hear you. There you are. This is so bad. It's so bad. Ta-da! Doom 2 on the Mac. It's terrible. Now, by the time OS X came around, we got some source ports, because Doom had been open sourced at that point for a while. And some intrepid Mac programmers had, ported it to OS X and more modern hardware. And it got to be not terrible, but, like, having to wait 5, 6, 7, 8 years for, like, good Doom ports, it's kind of awful. Kind of awful. Not gonna lie. What else do I have on here that's fun? That's Spectre on here. That's the demo version of Spectre. Oh, I was playing around with some disk compression utilities, so I have like disk doubler and auto doubler on here, just for comparison's sake. Oh, glider, good old glider. This was the machine, if you saw it a long time ago, I did a video on like my favorite old Mac games. This is the machine that I recorded most of these on. Most of these, because some of them don't record up the VGA. But, for example, there's this game here. I don't know if anybody's heard about it. It's from this tiny little developer that nobody's heard of. Maybe you've heard of them? Yeah, they go by the name Bungie. 1993 Bungie software. This is Bungie's first like big game. Good old Pathways into Darkness. I have not. Okay, so here's another weird thing, right? So it's rendering correctly on the palette on the built-in monitor. Not correct on what you guys are seeing on the VGA. Not even close. Oof, it does not look that bad on the built-in monitor. Let's see if we can get that to look a little better. Yes, close without saving. Let's change this to... I bet it won't let me. I bet it'll try and change the color depth on its own. Yeah, it totally did. Awesome. That's some great programming. I don't know. I don't think Bungie's gonna go anywhere. It can't seem to write a game correctly. Let's see, what else? What else can we look at? There's Stuntcopter, that's the one I was thinking of earlier. I think it runs way too fast on this hardware. Any OS. Yeah, it's a little fast. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. But here's what I mean. If you drop them on the ground, it's just that really horrifying, sick, and kind of satisfying animation. Yeah, that was me back in 1992 or whatever. What else? Anything else? David Starbuck trying to get me to plug in cheat codes on Doom. Nope, HC asks about MIDI. So here's the thing, right? Let's have a little history lesson on Apple and audio. It's hilarious to me that this is a thing that happened, but like, so y'all know who the Beatles are, right? The big, 60s doo-wop rock band took the world by storm. Their record label was called Apple Records. And no, it was not that Apple. It was just a record company called Apple Records. I think I've dust in my hair? I have dust in my hair. I've had dust in my hair since we started the stream. Awesome. So, when Apple Computer released the Apple IIgs, which was the Apple II with graphics and sound, that's what the GS stood for, it had an ensonic wavetable built into it for sound, for music. It's a very capable card. The 2GS versions of a lot of classic 8-bit games Really good. Really good sound. Apple Records sued Apple Computer because they were disseminating equipment that could be used to recreate music, like you use copy music. And to give you an idea of the quality of the courts back then, Apple Records won. So Apple Computer was no longer allowed to bundle basically any kind of music-making apparatus with their computers. So the Macintosh got very basic sound, and Apple took a little bit of a risk with the later machines, allowing them to like reproduce 22 kilohertz, 44 kilohertz audio, but no MIDI, no wavetables, nothing, not even FM synths in later machines, because they had an injunction filed against them. Basically, they couldn't put MIDI cards in their computers. So where's the music in Doom 2? There was an optional thing. You could enable software MIDI, and you could have QuickTime play some software MIDI of the original Doom 2 music. It works, but it's software MIDI on a 486 class machine, right? So it's bad. It's all being done by the CPU, and of course the classic Mac OS doesn't really multitask, so it's all being done over interrupts. So there's not a lot of CPU time left for the game. It makes it very slow, not super fun to play unless you're playing on something like a G3, when you finally have like Pentium 2 levels of CPU performance. Doing software MIDI in classic Mac OS isn't really a big deal. So that's why no music in Doom 2. A lot of games got around this. A lot of ports of games got around this. Like the Mac port for Descent, for example, had a full CD audio soundtrack. I believe there is a special edition that released for the PC afterwards that had that CD audio soundtrack, like backported to the PC version. But like Descent's got a great MIDI soundtrack, and it just didn't exist. It didn't exist on the Mac. You got the CD audio, which was not bad. It was well mixed and well mastered, but it wasn't quite the same thing as coming out of an OPL2, on a PC. But yeah, that's that's why there's no MIDI in Doom or Doom 2. It kind of sucks. Not gonna lie. I'm finally reading back through the chat. David Starbucks says, "Put it to sleep sounds so final." It's just, it's on these older machines, it's literally just, closing the cover, but obviously this one doesn't know that its cover is closed because that switch doesn't work anymore. Normally it would just go to sleep. And you could, for example, will this do it? If I, no, do the thing. You could put it to sleep manually, right, through the, this clicker is not in great shape. You can put it to sleep manually, right? Yes, I know, it'll disconnect my network that doesn't exist. Goes to sleep, power LED blinks, telling you it's asleep. And you can just press the key on the keyboard and wake it right back up. So normally, like if you put it to sleep, you close the lid, and you had an external keyboard mouse plugged into it, you could wake it up with that external keyboard mouse, and then it would no longer display to the internal monitor. It would just have the one display going, out the back through the, the dongle hell back here. And then games like Doom 2, Duke 3D, Descent, stuff like that will work just fine on the external display. But as long as the main monitor is here and functioning, most of the games they don't know how to deal with an external monitor, unfortunately. What else we got here in chat? Clarjon says, "Pathways into Darkness," more like "Pathways into Please Reset Your Monitor." Mache says, well, it was good to check in. Surprised I hadn't subscribed until half an hour ago. Well, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. A reminder to do the thing down there. Do the like and subscribe thing. Clarjon says, PC no signal. I thought this was a Mac. Ryzen 9 has joined. Hello, Ryzen 9 3900 XT has joined. And they say, I'm sorry I'm extremely late. What did I miss? Well, I was going to try and fire up a Centris 610 on stream. Obviously, this is not a Centris 610. It's a PowerBook. Because the Centris needs a recap and maybe more before it'll run. So it did not start up at all. Mad Electron says, I want to play Oregon Trail. I don't have it on here, because I actually don't like the game. I know, right? I'm going to get laughed off of the internet. I don't like the Oregon Trail. It's not super fun. Let's see if I can get... Can I get... Spectre should work on both the internal and external display. Good old Spectre. That's loud. Yeah, there we go. So that works. No, you don't. No, you don't. Just about died. I see him chasing me. I see him chasing me. One flag left. Good old Spectre. Yeah, so see, like that runs fine on the external display. Uh-oh. Here we go. Ooh, I could turn on the filled polygon mode. Anyway, yeah, Spectre works fine on the external display. Some other games that are like more tuned to the Mac and Mac OS, like they'll work when there's an external monitor connected and you're in mirroring mode. Like these two monitors, these two displays are showing the same thing, and they should be showing the same thing. But like the way that Apple did that back in the 90s, like there wasn't a good way to really make that work. Some PowerBooks had literally two graphics processors, one for the external display, one for the internal. So they showed up on the internal hardware bus as two different displays, even when you had mirroring turned on. So a lot of games got confused when you had an external monitor plugged in. But yeah, that's unfortunately, that's not a Centris 610. I apologize for wasting everybody's time today. But, sometimes you win some, you lose some. So, I had to figure out who I'm going to send that motherboard to recap it, because I do not have the skills to recap one of those. If anybody saw my attempt to remove a Dallas RTC chip, I do not have the skills or the equipment to really properly recap that motherboard, so I'm going to pay somebody. Somebody's better than me. Alright, so let's wrap this up. Let's do that. Ta-da! And play everybody out. Sorry for the short stream today, y'all. We'll figure it out. And that that Apple extended keyboard 2 that I bought for this is broken amounts of money is definitely broken. I'm gonna pop that one open and see what's going on with it too. It's causes bad things to happen to Macs that it's plugged into. That's very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that happen from a keyboard before. But yeah, I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Happy Saturday, and have a good rest of your weekend. Hopefully you have some relaxation time. I know I certainly need some. And yeah, I will catch you next week on the next stream. 3060 video will come out at some point. It's an albatross now. It's been going way too long, but we'll see. I should have some free time tomorrow and hopefully through the rest of this week to work on it and finish it off. I bit off way more than I could chew with this one. The whole point of like making my video card videos, right, is to test one video card, do a few tests on it, showcase some games on it, talk about its architecture, wrap it up, make it a quick video, right? So of course, I decide to, look at this video card, plus how does it compare against this video card, which means rerunning all the benchmarks again. Then also like, hey, the thing I want to do with it is machine learning, so let's find some machine learning benchmarks, figure out how they work, run them on this card, and hey, why wouldn't it be a nice thing to like compare it to some other machine learning capable cards I have in the collection? So let's do that twice more. It was a bad idea. It was a bad idea. It's my fault that the video isn't out. I'll get it out as soon as I can. I'm so sorry. And then it'll be on to older video cards. The next card after this I'm really looking forward to doing is the Regal 128. It should be a fun card to review. But yeah, it was a good time. I'm glad y'all were here, and I hope y'all had fun. And I will catch you in the next one. All right? Have a good night.